All right, well, let's bring in our panel. Lindy Lee, political strategist and co-host of the Her Take podcast. Erin Maguires, Republican strategist as well. So, Erin, Democrats seem set on providing Obamacare tax subsidies to illegal immigrants and millions, and people also making up to $500,000 a year. I do not get the strategy here.
Well, Democrats' strategy always remains an anomaly because it doesn't make sense. It's not based in reality. It's based in pure politics. And the pressure points are ramping up on Democrats here. You are now seeing SNAP benefits, WIC benefits being put on the line. Families who need assistance, who can't get it because Democrats for 13 times said that politics was more important. Obamacare subsidies, which Democrats of their own accord made short-term subsidies, not long-term policy decisions. So now they are holding the entire country hostage. I applaud governors like Governor Glenn Youngkin, who's stepping in, using state resources to make sure families don't go hungry this weekend as Democrats continue to play political games. It's enough. And you're seeing outside public businesses, Delta Airlines, for one, you're seeing federal employee unions coming out and saying pass a clean CR, which is what Republicans have been saying this entire time.
Yeah, good point. And we just showed you what Mike Johnson had to say, and you could tell that he's very, very frustrated. Well, here is what Chuck Schumer is saying. Take a listen.
This president is a liar. He says there's no money to provide food stamps because of the shutdown. That's he is bludgeoning the American people, using the most innocent of victims to try and go along with his cruel shutdown, which takes away health care from millions of Americans. He is the most vindictive politician America has ever seen, and the most heartless man America has ever seen in the presidency.
Lindy, I think he's a little bit confused. This isn't on the president. This is on the Senate Democrats. What do you make of what he had to say there?
Exactly, Charlotte. It was the Senate Democrats who voted 13 times. And I want to remind Chucky, no amount of profanity is going to get him out of this mess. He's terrified of the axis of evil, which is AOC, Ilhan Omar, and Zohran Mamdani. He's basically cornered in. He knows he's going to get primaried. So he's doing everything he can to prove that he's actually progressive. And he doesn't want to replay what happened in March when he went on that precious little book tour and then got protested by his own base. And we have to be very clear what's happening here, okay? They built a dependency empire, and it is crumbling right now. And President Trump isn't starving kids. He's starving the socialist beast. He's starving the handouts for millions of illegal aliens. Why are we putting them first when we have so many Americans, millions of Americans suffering on the streets, many Americans, everyday Americans needing our help? Why are we prioritizing illegals? That is a question that Democrats need to answer. And I have a very hard time believing that the 42 million people who are on SNAP, all of them qualify. Someone on Newsmax said last night, maybe people should start making better choices so they don't have to rely on the government day in and day out. What happened to personal responsibility? It used to be an American ideal.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So, Erin, I know you are a creature of the House. You worked in the House of Representatives for a long time. But I got to ask you, the president, very frustrated, calling on the Senate to eliminate the filibuster, get rid of the 60-vote threshold to reopen the government. But I worry, because at some point down the road, Democrats are going to get control of the whole thing again. And I can only imagine how much worse Obamacare would have been without the 60-vote threshold as a safety net.
That's right. And Mark, to be fair, I am also a creature of the Senate. Okay. I did work for Senator Thune for 3 years in Senate leadership, so I am a darling of Senate rules and procedures. I appreciate them probably more than most. And you're right here. If there's ever going to be a bipartisan 100%, 100 senator consensus, it's ask them if they want to make the Senate into the House of Representatives. Because if they nuke the filibuster on the legislative calendar, the Senate sits on two calendars, one being the executive, where they do nominations. That filibuster was slowly blown up multiple times with what they call the nuclear option, starting with, may I remind you, Harry Reid, when he was Senate Majority Leader. He blew up the filibuster on judicial nominations. That led the way for Mitch McConnell to do so. So we have 3 Supreme Court justices who are conservative. But to do that on the legislative calendar would mean that you no longer have that 60-vote threshold. It would mean a simple majority, which would be exactly how the House passes their contentious contentious bills, which is on a rule, which means a simple majority. No senator would want that. And to your point, Mark, you're 100% correct. There is a big problem that if the filibuster was nuked on the legislative calendar in the United States Senate, what Democrats would do, the political whiplash of policy and position in this country, what they would do to destroy this nation if they didn't have the filibuster in the United States Senate. It would mean 2 more states. It would mean packing the Supreme Court. It would mean undermining the legitimacy of democracy for the sake of their political power.
A single vote would give you single-payer health care.
That's exactly right.
Lindy, I want to pivot and really talk just briefly about the stamina that we're seeing from this president. Because, of course, he spent 6 days in Asia, right? And then in 24 hours, he went from facing off with China's trade team to handing out candy to children on the South Lawn at the White House. Compare that to what we saw in the last administration. I honestly don't think we could have seen Joe Biden cross an ocean and then stand at the White House for that long. Just do a little compare contrast for me here.
Oh, man, I'm less than half of President Trump's age, and I just want to say he puts me to shame. I'm embarrassed, okay? Actually, whenever I get tired and I get, deflated, I think of his schedule, and I am filled with adrenaline because he inspires me to reach my greatest potential. And it's not just the past week. Remember the time he went to Alaska and then he was ready to tee up at like 12 p.m. the following day. I think he slept like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it. It's superhuman strength. And the way that he's able to engage with the press several times a day, as opposed to not even talking with the press for the entire year. This was a vivid juxtaposition between an auto pen presidency and a dynamic one. Hate him or love him, you know who's in charge, and that's Donald J. Trump.
Right. Good point. Good point. All right. Great to have you both with us on this Friday. Happy Halloween, Lindy and Erin.
Happy
Thank you, guys.
Halloween.
Thank you.